my M&A advisor is a private equity guy. So when I ask him what does it need to look like for a private equity buyer, well, Matthew, you need to do. So I know when I buy these businesses, what does it have to look like? For instance, committed monthly recurring revenue, churn rates. I need to know these set of financial metrics. So when I buy the business, I need to convert it. So I already know what a private equity wants to look for when they buy it. So I'm very comfortable when I make my roll-up and when I make just a series of acquisitions, I'm going to have my accounting team create a series of data reports ready so that at any point in time a private equity buyer can say, so what are your figures? Well, there you go. I'm ready to sell before I've even bought my first company. So I did that, got focused, had week goals, got a week board, got a week chairman, got all this stuff, screwed up on a bunch of stuff, got involved in a deal with the chairman, red flags. I mean, I talked to Mr. Peña about this and he's like, that's a red flag, the guy's can't. Yeah, he was. It took me like a year and a bit to get out of that, to actually financially extricate and all this. It was really fucked up. But then it was like, okay, I've sorted all that, I'm back. So I came back to London about 3 days before the seminar. And then since then it's bigger goals, bigger team, better team, legendary board, etc.
Okay, let's just thank him. Thank you. Congratulations. I mean, it's quite remarkable to hear a guy that just attended the seminar in April and having accomplished what he's accomplished, and on several different fronts and with several different companies. And again, that's not what I recommend for you. I recommend one at a time, especially since most of you aren't going to be going into the areas that you know as well as he knows his area. And but the bottom line is now you've heard 4 different personalities, 4 different types, and in 4 different areas. And again, they're all different. And some of them use sophisticated methodologies like math, and some just, don't. But they all have one thing in common, and they all make calls. Which historically, 22.5 years that we've been doing this, has always been the hardest thing. And it all relates back to the fear and all the things that I've pounded the shit out of for a few days now. And but it's making the calls. And he's talked about when he's structuring these things so he can be working not in the business but on the business. And that's 95% of the time you'll be spending on looking for deals and the money. And he alluded to the fact that one of his board members or an old chairman or a banker says you can't buy companies 3 to 5 times earnings, which is horseshit. And in the tapes, I made that in 96, 97, 98, thereabouts. And everybody says, well, that was, Dan, all he did was memorialize something that he did in the 70s and 80s, in the 90s, but it doesn't hold true or hold water today, and that's bullshit. It just is. That is utter crap, because it does. It does. And just imagine, one of the things that, when people hear that, if they were with big organizations and they were paying 9, 10, 12 times earnings, that means they were giving away shareholder money. That means they were wasting money because they could have bought the shit at 3 to 5 times. That's why they can't swallow it. That's why they're hesitant to admit it. That means they pissed away 15, 20, 25, 30 years of their fucking career and shareholders' money. That's why a lot of guys can't live with it. Some of the guys, what the fuck? I wish I had known this 20 years ago. Those are the good guys. But a lot of guys can't do that because, they have to take responsibility for all the money they misspent. Philip, you can imagine who I'm talking about. On the big corporate side, but it's doable and it's possible, and and you can do it fairly quickly. And when he pushed aside that deal and that board and that chairman, I mean, he talks about it very lightly now. It wasn't such a light deal at the time when it was going on. Like a lot of these talk about the problems they had. Oh yeah, and they just gloss. So, well, I lived through those deals and or that time frame, and that's what I do. And he's very good in his reporting, and that he asks me these questions, and down deep inside he knows the answers and the three alternatives, and I tell him, and then he goes and does it. And as you will, starting in about a week's time with the reports, and you'll list your questions, and I'll give you your answers. And once in a while, I mean, you guys don't have a clue what the real answer should be, and you don't list it in the three, as I've already mentioned. And then I'll put in big fucking, 80 font point, or 80, whatever it is, 86, now this is the answer. And maybe you do know the answer, but you don't want to put it down on paper. But almost everything you're going to do is not rocket science. And his business is the closest to rocket science we got going right now, except for Bavarian Bob and a couple of real rocket scientists that we have. But other than that, it's not. It's pure and simple. I mean, the guy that's in the construction business, that's his, I hate to call it manual labor, as you come. And I tease him every day. Today they stole cement from you. Today they and he says, yeah, I know. And then one of his ex-employees was off using their credit to try to buy shit, and he's already gone. I've been through all that because I've been in that business, and I'm glad I'm not in it anymore. But I've been there, and it's a tough fucking business. I mean, because you lose shit everywhere. Unfortunately, to your own employees, it's not like they're coming like the Raiders of the Lost Ark down and leaving. It's your own people that are walking off the sites with your shit. Any other comments about Matt?
I thought that was the most helpful for me to understand what the process was like out of all the.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's very methodical, very organized, and I wasn't sure what he was getting at with the dough and the rising of the bread, but fuck, I got it afterwards, but I'm going, what? Where's he going with this? Okay, Chris.
I love his presentation. You're so confident, and
he didn't use. He was less confident.
yeah.
All these guys are significantly more confident today than they were back in the day. And back in the day wasn't so long ago, right? But I mean, these guys sound like they know what the fuck they're talking about. And the process and this, it's amazing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I still remember he was sitting right about there, and he says, I just had to learn to dumb it down. I still remember that. If I lived to be 1,000, and I had never thought of it that way before, but that's true. That's true. Now, some of these guys will have less problem dumbing it down. Not just this group, all the groups, to dumb it down.
And that's what we're fucking for.
Huh? Yeah, that's our fucking poor, yeah. Yeah, even the brothers, yeah. He did it very, very well. He walked through the process in a very methodical, understandable manner. There's no question about that. And pretty succinct. I mean, he didn't elaborate too much, and he didn't give more information than was necessary. He did it all right. And so now that's, Paul, that's all the more reason, now that you understand, now that the shoes dropped or the pennies dropped or whatever the saying is, and some more pennies are going to drop this afternoon and tomorrow about the financing. And like he said, he's only gone through a fraction, or maybe that's not true about the 400 financial institutions here. And if there's 400 institutions here, this is an exaggeration. There's 4 million in the States, in North America. That's an exaggeration, there's not. But I mean, there's 40,000 maybe. There's 40,000. That's probably close to being accurate, 40,000. And then in the EU, you haven't gone to the EU for money, right? No. Okay. Well, in the EU, it's got a whole bunch for those of you that are in the EU. And it's out there. The money's not the problem. The directors aren't the problem. The chairman's not the problem. The accountants aren't the problem. The bankers aren't the problem. The deals aren't the problem. That's the problem. And when you get over that, the rest is easy. And in the progress, and he's commented about the Zoom calls, that when you see Chris will be smiling, Paul will be smiling, Eduardo might be smiling, Joe might be smiling, Jeffrey, but a couple of you, you'll be able to read the faces when you look at those 24 little pictures of yourselves. Who the fuck is doing well, and who the fuck feels that they're not doing well, just by looking at those across. So when I open it up and I look, and then I'll say, okay, and then I don't necessarily go sequentially. I'll jump down here and go back and forth. And some of you, I think, maybe I'm wrong, you'll be up in the left-hand corner as I'm looking at the screen like this, and your pictures will be there, and you'll disconnect. And then when you disconnect, you wind up being at the bottom of the queue. Now, I think some of you do that on purpose. So maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But all of a sudden, I'll get Paul's next, and what happened to Paul? And then he'll wind up being down here now, because he will have disconnected. And all of a sudden, Eduardo's up there, and he didn't disconnect quick enough, because I'll start talking to him. He didn't dodge the bullet quick enough. And so that's why I jump around. So you can't get away. You can run, but you can't hide from me on the calls. But the calls are very beneficial. Zoom calls are very beneficial because you can hear what the other people are doing. You can hear, and it reinforces. Not that I need any reinforcement, but it reinforces to you. Oh shit! And Paul said, "Fuck, Chris did it. Oh, fuck, he's a worthless piece of shit. I don't understand how in the fuck did he do that, or whatever, whoever." And what's cute is when I normally get on the calls, I try to get it 2, 3, 4 minutes before the call starts. But some of you are on the call sooner, and I listen to the bullshit that you're giving back and forth to each other. And a couple of you, well, yeah, I know this and this happened, and oh, yeah, fuck, that was easy. Yeah, and I say, yeah, and then you realize I'm on the call, and all of a sudden, quiet. Everybody's quiet, and then we'll move forward, or I'll say, Paul, it was 15 seconds ago. You said it was easy. Tell me exactly what was easy, and then he'll stumble around a little, and then normally the people stay on the calls after I get off, after everybody has their turn, and with a group this size, it'll be 2 to 3 hours to call, and after everybody has their turn, and then I get off, and then invariably you stay on the call, and you'll get an email from Thelma that'll say, the Zoom call, you're invited. It's the way she words is really funny. Will you please invited, if you can make it at this time. That's not where, be on the fucking call is what I said, but she doesn't write it that way. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So if you can't be on the call, then you can be on another call. But they're very informative. They're very, very informative. And then I open it up. Okay, now that everybody's talked, are there any questions? And then, you'll have questions. And I'll answer them. And occasionally one of you guys will jump in and answer. But occasionally we have some fun. Paul will say, Chris, you asked the same fucking question last month. Are you a cunt or what? I mean, how come? And that's when I just sit back and listen. And, because some of you will only take so much bullshit from the other ones. And it always amazes me where the line is. Okay? You drew the line. Where is it? That's bullshit. You've been telling us that now for 2 fucking calls. When are you going to get off your dead ass and do it? Okay. YouTube, thank you very much.